Long before hospitals, before midwives with training, before any of it, giving birth was one of the most dangerous things a human being could do. For ancient humans, this single moment decided everything. Life or death, for the mother, and for the child. This is what actually happened when ancient humans gave birth. No hospitals, no doctors, only the people around you, and whatever they had already learned. To understand why this moment was so dangerous, we have to understand the human body itself. When early humans began walking upright, their hips changed shape to support that new posture. Narrower hips made walking and running easier, but they also made childbirth much harder. At the very same time, human babies were developing bigger brains and bigger heads. A narrow passage, a larger baby. It was a dangerous combination nature had to solve. Nature's answer was surprising. Human babies would be born earlier than almost any other primate, relative to how developed they were. This is why human infants are born so helpless compared to almost any other animal on Earth. It made childbirth survivable, but it also meant every newborn needed intense care just to stay alive. Even with this evolutionary adjustment, birth remained incredibly risky. So ancient humans did what they always did best when facing danger. They relied on experience. In almost every ancient group, one or two women became known for helping during birth. These women had usually given birth themselves and had helped others through it many times before. They were not called doctors. They were not called midwives. But that is exactly what they were. When Sanaa's time came, it was this elder who was called first. The elder moved quickly but calmly, gathering a few simple things on her way. Soft furs for comfort, clean water for washing, and experience, which mattered more than anything else she carried. Sanaa was moved to a quiet, private space near the back of the shelter. Privacy mattered, but so did being close to others who could help if something went wrong. The men of the camp, including Kale and Toma, kept their distance, but stayed close enough to help if needed. This was considered women's work in many ancient groups, guided by those who had lived through it themselves. The elder examined Sanaa calmly, speaking softly, trying to keep her steady and unafraid. Fear alone, the elder knew, could make everything harder. Ancient women had learned, through generations of experience, that staying upright often helped more than lying flat. Gravity, movement, and being upright could ease the process in ways lying down never could. Sanaa was held upright, supported firmly under each arm by the two women beside her. The elder knelt in front of her, watching closely, ready to help the moment it was needed. As the hours passed, the pain grew intense, and Sanaa's strength began to wear thin. The elder had a remedy for this too, something learned from generations before her. Certain bitter plants, chewed slowly, seemed to ease pain and calm the body during moments like this. It was not perfect relief, but it was something, learned through trial, and passed down carefully. The women around her spoke steadily, encouraging her, reminding her she was not alone in this. This constant presence, this refusal to leave her alone, was one of the most powerful tools they had. Outside, Kale paced near the fire, unable to help directly, but unable to stay still either. Toma sat quietly, adding wood to the fire, keeping it burning strong for the warmth the newborn would need. Inside, the elder recognized the moment was close, and her focus sharpened completely. She had seen this moment many times before, and she knew exactly what came next. The two women supporting Sanaa held her firmly, steadying her through the final, hardest moments. And then, after hours of pain, effort, and fear, a sound the whole camp had been waiting for. A newborn's cry. Outside, Kale and Toma froze completely, listening, waiting for confirmation everything was all right. Inside, the elder moved quickly but calmly, exactly as she had done many times before. The baby was wrapped immediately in warm fur, protected from the cold night air. Warmth mattered more than almost anything else in these first critical moments. A newborn who grew too cold, too quickly, faced enormous danger in these earliest hours. The elder also knew the umbilical cord had to be dealt with carefully and cleanly. A sharpened stone tool, kept especially clean, was used for this single careful task. Sinew fiber was tied tightly around the cord, learned through generations of careful practice. Cleanliness here mattered enormously, though ancient humans understood it through observation, not through knowing about germs. They had learned, through hard experience, that clean hands and clean tools meant fewer deaths. The newborn was placed gently against Sanaa's chest, skin against skin, the two of them together at last. This closeness did more than comfort them both. It helped keep the baby warm and helped calm them both. The elder stepped back for a moment, watching quietly, making sure both mother and child were steady. Then she stepped outside, and the whole waiting camp turned toward her at once. A single nod, a tired but genuine smile, and the entire camp let out a breath they had been holding. Not every birth ended this way. Ancient humans knew this all too well. Complications could arise that even the most experienced elder could not solve. A baby positioned wrong, bleeding that would not stop. These dangers were real and often deadly. Over generations, experienced women learned small techniques to help even in these harder cases. Gently turning a baby that was positioned wrong, applying steady, careful pressure to slow bleeding. These were not guarantees, but they were the accumulated wisdom of countless women who came before. Every successful birth added to what the next elder would know. Every difficult one taught something too. This slow, painful accumulation of knowledge became one of humanity's earliest medical traditions. Long before written records, this knowledge lived entirely in memory and in careful teaching. Young women in the camp were often present during births, watching, learning, absorbing everything they could. This was how the role of an elder healer was passed forward, one careful lesson at a time. Back in Sanaa's shelter, the first night passed slowly, carefully, with someone always awake and watching. The newborn needed feeding often, warmth constantly, and careful watching through every single hour. Even simple things, like keeping the baby's small body warm through the cold night, took constant effort. By morning, the whole camp gathered quietly to see the newest member of their group. Kale and Thomas stepped forward carefully, looking down at the tiny newborn with wide, amazed expressions. This small, fragile life had survived one of the most dangerous moments a human being could face. And it had survived because of everything the group already knew, and everyone who showed up to help. In the days that followed, the elder continued checking on Sanaa and the newborn closely. She watched for fever, for excessive bleeding, for any sign that something was wrong. These were the same warning signs ancient healers had learned to recognize from broken bones and wounds. The same careful watching, the same cleaning, the same insistence on rest. Ancient medicine, it turned out, was really just one continuous body of hard-earned knowledge. As the newborn grew stronger, so did Sanaa, slowly regaining her strength day by day. Within weeks, she was moving around the camp again, newborn wrapped close against her body. This clothes-carrying method kept the baby warm, safe, and near its mother at all times. It also meant Sanaa could work, gather food, and move freely while still caring for her child. Other women in the camp helped whenever needed, sharing the enormous responsibility of raising a child. This shared caretaking became known, generations later, as something almost every human society still relies on. No single mother, in this ancient world, was ever expected to face it entirely alone. This support system was, in many ways, just as important as any medical knowledge they carried. Word of a successful birth often traveled between neighboring camps, especially when something new had been learned. If the elder had tried something new, and it had worked, other groups wanted to know about it. This is how birth knowledge slowly spread across different groups, refined again and again through experience. Different groups sometimes discovered different helpful plants, different positions, different small techniques. But the core approach remained remarkably similar everywhere: support, warmth, cleanliness, and experience. Years passed, and Sanaa's child grew strong, running and playing throughout the camp. The elder who had guided that difficult night grew older too, her hands slower, her steps more careful. But her knowledge had not disappeared. It had already been passed forward, carefully, to the next generation. One of those she had taught was, unexpectedly, Sanaa herself. Having survived that dangerous night herself, Sanaa had learned everything she could from the elder afterward. Now, she was the one holding another mother's hand through the same frightening, uncertain hours. This was how ancient knowledge survived, not written anywhere, but carried forward inside real people. Each birth, successful or difficult, added another small piece to what the group understood. Over hundreds of generations, this knowledge slowly grew into something much larger than any single elder. It became tradition. It became ritual. It became, eventually, the very earliest roots of medicine itself. Every single one of us exists because someone, somewhere, survived this exact moment. A mother in pain. Someone experienced enough to help her, and enough courage to see it through. This single moment repeated itself countless times across thousands of generations, in every corner of the world. Different plants, different traditions, different faces, but the same fundamental human story. A mother's strength, a community's support, and knowledge, carried carefully from one generation to the next. Today, birth happens in hospitals, with monitors, medicine, and trained doctors close at hand. But every safety measure we rely on today has roots stretching back to nights like Sanaa's. Nights lit only by firelight, guided only by memory, and held together only by human hands. The elder who helped Sanaa never wrote a single word down. She didn't need to. She passed everything forward the only way ancient humans could, by showing, by teaching, by simply being there. And because of women like her, the human story continued, one careful birth at a time. It is easy, today, to forget how dangerous this moment once was for every single person alive. For most of human history, surviving your own birth, and your mother surviving it too, was never guaranteed. Every person who ever lived made it through that exact same dangerous passage. Every ancestor, every elder, every child who grew up to become someone's parent. This is not a small thing. It is, in many ways, the very first challenge humanity ever truly shared. Back at the camp, the fire still burned late into that first night, long after the newborn had finally settled. Kale sat near the flames, quietly overwhelmed by everything that had just happened. Toma joined him, and for a while, neither of them said anything at all. Some moments, they had learned, didn't need words. They only needed to be lived through, together. Inside the shelter, the elder finally allowed herself to rest, her work for the night complete. She had done this many times before, and she would likely do it many times again. Each time carried the same risk. Each time demanded the same careful skill. And each time, when it went well, it meant one more person had joined the long human story. By dawn, the whole camp had settled into a quiet, grateful rhythm. Sanaa slept soundly, her newborn resting safely beside her, both of them finally at peace. Outside, the camp moved on with its usual tasks, but something had quietly shifted. A new life had joined them, carried safely through one of the hardest passages a human can face. This story repeated itself, with small variations, in nearly every ancient camp across the world. Different landscapes, different traditions, but the same determined effort to protect new life. Every single one of these moments, multiplied across thousands of generations, built the human race we are today. It began with fear and pain and uncertainty in a small shelter lit only by firelight. It continued with courage, a mother's strength, and an elder's steady, practiced hands. It was carried forward by community, people who refused to let anyone face this moment alone. And it was preserved by teaching, knowledge passed patiently from one generation of women to the next. None of it was written down. All of it was remembered, practiced, and lived. And because of that remembering, the human story never stopped, not once, across thousands and thousands of years. Somewhere, in every one of us, is a small echo of that very first frightening, beautiful night. A night that began in fear and ended quietly, with the whole human story continuing forward.